everyone. This is not live, not streamed. I'm having a recording because I have here with me Jamie, who's having also an awesome experience here at StarEast 2022. And she accepted to come and be my victim, another victim here, and talk a little bit about the experience. How is it going for you?
Gosh, it's been great. It's been just phenomenal to be back in person at a conference, and the energy is palpable, right? You can tell how much people here love their profession, how
Hmm.
engaged they are, and it's really great to meet new people and to reinforce some of the same topics we've been talking about for a really long time, but also to happen into different ways of looking at those same topics. So, yeah.
It's funny and interesting how, in a way, it can start to get kind of repetitive because
Mm,
we hear similar
yeah,
things, just different words or different perspectives, but the ideas, it's weird that are not yet implemented, right? But
right.
since ever we have known some of these things, but that's the cool part. We are here, we're sharing, we're getting more ideas or
Yeah.
teaching, right? And speaking of teaching, I know that you have been doing some of those dirty activities.
Yeah.
You had
I had a speaking
a
thing.
speaking.
Yeah, yesterday, a presentation talking about test leadership was kind of the track. And I mean, we started out talking about or thinking we were going to talk about how to mature a quality assurance practice as that development landscape is changing constantly.
Hmm.
We really ended up delving into how do you build one. So I've been doing QA for 7 years now.
Wow.
And we started out with 2 to 3 employees, and now we're at 17. We started out with 2 practices, and now we have 3. So we've been doing a lot in that space at my company at Modern Women of America, in that insurance space. And it was really cool to talk to people that are in different parts of their journey.
Mm.
Just starting out, being thrust into this new role, trying to figure it out. So a lot of my talk was about bringing it back to basics. How do you get everybody interested and engaged in quality and make it not just quality assurance's job? How do you establish yourself as an expert? How do you communicate that your team has value through a vision statement and what that is in that elevator pitch? And then really, how do you cast a vision for where your team is going and making sure that they're all going in the same direction?
Hmm.
And then effectively communicating that over and over again in different ways, using business cases, using metrics, using different techniques. So,
All the good old tools that are
right.
never out of fashion, or there's still the right thing to do. And funny enough that we have to come and keep saying it, right?
It's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, I started out the presentation talking about how this is logical and basic stuff. And once I say it, you're going to say, oh, yeah, absolutely.
How didn't I think about that? Like the right?
Right. Like, why isn't anybody buying into what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to implement? Well, have you told them that it's valuable? Right. It's like really interesting basic concepts. So we covered a lot of that and had some exercises, and it was fun. It was a great session, ton of people and high engagement, and I just love doing it.
Speaking of ton of people, I understand you had a packed room, right?
It was full. It was
Yeah,
full. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, all the good experience, all that knowledge, all that
Mm.
things that are super important. I don't know. What do you think is the most challenging thing for people that you introduced from your presentation? Like these things that I come up and I'm gonna
Mm.
teach you, share, or introduce you to, that they are struggling more with or may struggle. Would you say? Tough spot,
Mm.
I know.
I know. I think oftentimes when somebody doesn't prescribe for us how something is supposed to work,
Mm.
or like, what is your job, right? Like, I asked everybody who knows what their job is at their company. Do you have a defined job description? And is that what you do on a daily basis? And do you know how many people raise their hand? None, right? Nobody. Because nobody can tell you what it means to be an expert in quality assurance.
Mm.
Nobody can tell you and define what it means, to do performance testing well, right? It's individual to each organization. So I think that can be frustrating sometimes for people, that it's not prescribed, that nobody's telling you what your job is. Or you can flip that and you can think about what opportunity that is. If nobody's
Oh,
telling
cool.
you what it is, then it's your opportunity to frame it the way you see it to be valuable and important. So how can you take that? It's like that, nervous versus excited energy. Which one are you? Nervous, you excited? Well, it's the same thing, right?
No, and inverting, flipping
Yeah.
things up,
So
and
how do you flip that and use it to your advantage?
that's awesome.
Um,
I
yeah.
never thought of it on that perspective, because today on the presentation I was doing is like, I'm gonna talk about performance, not that performance, but
Mm.
still is something that if you played well, you can put it on like, hey, I'm gonna be helping on these areas that are not that performance that I usually talk about, but
Mhm.
also we can help, we can recreate or reinvent, right, and
Right.
get
Right.
advantages.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just think people get caught up in like, well, how, what is it that I do? Am I a supervisor? Am I a manager? Am I a tester? Am I manual? Am I automated? Am I like trying to figure out what box they fit in? And really, is that relevant? Where is it that you want to be? Where is it you are today? And how can you start to close that gap in a way that resonates and connects with the business, with the projects, with the landscape that you're in at that moment?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and if there are let's say situations where, I mean, labeling people, boxing people is
Mm.
something that I think it's hurtful for people, for the organization.
Hmm.
And when these people may not be capable only of that thing, but that a big fan of different possibilities, skills,
Right.
and likes, and
Yeah.
that if we just limit them to this, you're just here, we're wasting, or we will feel wasted, right? We'll like, hey, I also know how to cook and macrame, and or I don't
Yeah.
know.
We'll get stuck, right?
Hmm.
I mean, if you don't have an idea, we talked a little bit about inventory. Like, do you understand what you have at your organization? Do you understand the people, the human resources? Do you understand the test cases that you have, both manual and automated? Do you understand the technical debt you're walking into? Do you know the hardware that you have access to? Like, if you don't know what you have today and even the skills of the people, then how do you know what you need to get to this desired, I'll call it
State or
intermediate state. I won't
point,
even
or
say an end state, right? Because it's always changing. The end is always moving.
we keep
But
evolving at all
I
time,
mean,
and
ideally, right? But yeah.
no, even if we don't want to, it comes to us.
Yeah.
It's like you need to assimilate it. um, and here are some of the questions that I am making to people that come and join me here.
Okay.
um, I mean, the question, silly question.
Okay.
Are you familiar with shifting left?
Of course. Who isn't, right?
Oh wow! Believe it or not, there's people
Oh.
who are like, "Sure, I heard it. It's you put ketchup on it, right?"
Okay.
No, then. Uh, so you're familiar with it.
Mhm.
Um, have you been able to teach it, implement it, or transmit it in your organization's teams?
In pockets, I don't think that there's the right implementation. You
There's no
can't you,
silver
you can't
bullet.
right, you can't consistently solve different problems with the same solution. So shifting left is a great tool and it's a great opportunity. Anytime that you can develop with testing in mind, it's envisioning an end state, right? What do I want this to look like? What is success at the end of it? Well, that's your testing, right? So if you can build it with testing in mind, to me, you're inherently shifting left,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
You're bringing it earlier. And if you can identify bugs and prevent them before they're even an issue, that's the dream.
Hmm.
So we do have projects where we do that. My organization's done a really phenomenal job in the last, I'll say 18 months, going to a domain focused team model. For a long time, we were building project teams, building our teams around the projects. And
Cool.
18 months ago, we flipped that to having static teams that are focused around domains at our organization and bringing the project work to the established team. That inherently started shifting us further left than we had been,
Oh, cool.
right? Because it's basically a DevOps principle, except everyone has their retained job role. So the people that are doing testing, they do testing on that team. Our database folks, they still do database. We don't share those roles and responsibilities, but we do kind of adopt some of the principles of a DevOps organization and kind of the best little pieces that work for us.
The best of, yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta pick what suits you, what fits you,
Right.
and that's key, because yeah, all the who was saying that? I think it was Jenny the other day, that it becomes a cult when you always should, and is specific guidelines,
Right.
commandments, all those things. We gotta pick what fits us and
Mm-hmm.
do what's best. And I think you already answered a little bit the next question. Any challenges shifting left? Any things that you see maybe, or that you have experienced as problematic? I mean, you already said like this one size fits all,
Right.
maybe a wrong approach. Any other thing that you would contribute there, or?
I think that we all have, well, most of us have legacy systems in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form, right? We all have some debt. We have something that has to be thought about in a different manner. And so we definitely have that at our organization, and it's powerful and it's amazing. And we do really well testing it. It does not follow as much of an iterative approach to development or to releasing. It's just not suited for that. So we have more of a waterfall implementation when we have projects that use this key system. Um, is it problematic? No. Can we shift left on that? Not really. What we
Mm,
can do is have the conversation about what testing will look like and how we can take maybe a different lens on that, um, just from our test planning perspective. So, yeah, there's just some things that you can't do it on, and not
yeah,
effectively, or you're going to spend so much time and energy trying to prove a point that you can do it. Oh, we can shift left. But did you get value? Did you derive value out of making that happen? Or would it have been just faster and more successful if you left it alone? Invest your energy in the new things that are more
re-
suited to that.
building up from scratch rather than
Right.
rebuilding, or because
Right.
that's a very good point on monolithic solutions, waterfall
Mm,
projects, some of these things where it's like, I really wish this was this way before, but if it wasn't created with that in mind, it gets super
mm-hmm.
counterintuitive. And that's a very good point, because reworking that out and refactoring it to shift left
Yes.
may be a bigger pain point. Like, okay, let's just survive with this and wait until we start creating new pieces. That's an awesome,
Right.
awesome recommendation. Um, and well, trick-ish question.
Okay.
Before meeting me, I know that I have been screaming in a lot and talking. Did you
Mhm.
ever hear about K6 before?
No.
Oh my God, I need
I
to improve my work. I
know.
mean, now you're super aware of it.
I am. Yes. Now I'm aware, and
You
you
won't want
know,
to listen, hear it ever again after so much that I've been
well, I
saying
don't
it.
know about that. Every time you hear things, you have new takeaways from it, right?
Hmm.
There's always some extra little piece that comes into the conversation, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, just with pandemic and with all of the things that have happened over the last couple of years, a lot of us in our organizations or teams have been more focused on how do we support the employee, how do we keep the projects and the processes going, how do we increase our velocity and make sure that our productivity is even higher than it was when we were in person.
Hmm.
And when you start doing that, sometimes you have less time to look outside and see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of maybe more the case. And had I been coming to some of the conferences a little bit more frequently, I mean, that's what these engagements are all about, right? Finding out the new information.
That has been
So,
the
yeah.
main topic or repeating topic around here. Keep learning and come to conferences so that you can expand your horizons and
Hmm.
perspectives.
Hmm.
It's it's really awesome. I'm guessing you're gonna be giving a try to more conferences, more stuff.
I mean, I love being here. It's great energy. It's great people. I just on day one, I had two phenomenal half day tutorials, and I had so many great takeaways that I've already talked with some folks back at the organization. They're like, we can't wait to hear more about that. So hopefully, right? Hopefully, it's in my future a little bit more, but
It,
one never knows.
it's an awesome environment.
Yeah,
You
it
will
is.
like it.
It is.
Um, Before we close up, how can
Yes.
people reach out to you? Any questions or
Oh
follow-ups?
boy.
Are you in LinkedIn, Twitter, any of those
Yep, you can
places?
find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best, most direct way. So, my name's Jamie Sullivan. I work for Modern Women of America. I'm the supervisor of quality assurance
Okay,
over IT or technical business analysis, quality assurance, and quality specialist or automation practices.
awesome.
Yeah.
Jamie, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Yeah,
participating.
my
You
pleasure.
have earned some little goodies. And people, stay tuned, because I will be streaming more stuff and publishing and all that stuff that we can do. So, thank you,
Awesome.
and